Welcome to the inaugural Role Player Watch Along presented to you by Swiss Cultures. I am Jordan Taylor, 12-year overseas pro University of Wisconsin alum, alongside my guy, Stanford gentleman, Swiss Cultures co-founder Anthony Goods, and European legend, former McDonald's All-American and current SEC, ESPN basketball and ESPN basketball analyst, Richard Hendrix. We're late on the show. Serbia is already up 2-0 and got possession of the ball a minute in. We know what they're bringing to the table. We know what USA is bringing to the table to return to KD. But let's start with what's going around the Paris Olympic Games so far. This is the final game of the first round. Australia came out on top in their first round game against Spain. It was Canada staying on top of Greece in a hard-fought battle that saw Shai Gilgeous-Alexander kind of take over late. South Sudan highlighting second half comeback against Puerto Rico earlier, amongst other games. But let's just jump right into it now, fellas. What you think about the early games?
I think a big win. You talk about Australia over Spain in that first one. Patty Mills coming up, big time performance. You know, this is what people come to see in the Olympics. You got a big time slate of NBA caliber players on every single team. You're seeing not too many blowouts and competitive games. So to start the first round off to a good start with some good wins and some good play, for me, I think it's pretty good to watch.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, man. I thought Greece in the Canada game, I thought it was gonna be a little more of a blowout, man. I wasn't really expecting Greece and Canada to be so tight, but kind of like Rich said, man, it's dope to see these tight matchups so early on. And I mean, just with so many teams like Greece, like Canada, Australia, obviously the States, just having so many NBA players, man, I think it makes it a lot more exciting as opposed to, the past where there weren't so many NBA players. But I think Australia is definitely a dangerous team in this tournament, man. I'm excited to see how they fare moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think South Sudan showed strong in the second half. That Jose Alvarado ankle injury was something key to that game. He started off 6 for 8, 19 points, which I think really kind of changed the momentum of that game. I think Puerto Rico and South Sudan, they're not expected to medal, but I think South Sudan could really make some noise in this tournament with their length, their athleticism. I think they could cause problems for a lot of teams.
Playing really well. It's like they got a chip on their shoulder. Carlik Jones, the guy's got a little bit of NBA experience, played in the G League, has won a G League MVP, but he has outstanding playmaking ability. And with the athleticism and length around them, as you talk about with South Sudan, they're able to move that ball around and knock down some shots off his playmaking creativity. Royale Ivy, too, his coaching ability and what he's been able to put together with that team has been spectacular. As Serbia is off to a big-time start, up 10-2. Early in the first.
Yeah, man. Carlik's been super consistent over the past year, scoring and facilitating. Like last year in the World Cup, he had a 38-point game. He had a couple games with I think 11 assists, 14 assists, and 15 assists. So in regards to scoring the ball and facilitating, man, I think he's as good as anybody in this tournament, man. But like you said, man, Royale, he's got a nice little squad, got some experience on his coaching staff as well. Some coaches with some NBA experience. I really love what they're doing over there.
The one matchup that we haven't got to yet. Carlik's great. South Sudan is great. Victor Wembanyama showed his dominance in the first game, and just France, I think, is going to struggle. France is going to struggle a little bit. Their lack of guard play is troubling to me. However, I think Victor can carry them really far. I was impressed with how he responded to kind of every challenge from Brazil. I think Brazil probably is one of the weaker teams in the tournament, in my opinion. But Victor has really established himself as a presence and a force early on.
Well, JT, what you talking about the guard play? I mean, what should they do? What they don't have it. They got bigs. You got Gobert. You got Wembanyama. You played in that French league. What type of style of play could they implement to be effective in this tournament?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a really good question. And to be honest with you, I don't have a really good answer. I think the problem is their guards are a little bit contradictory to the rest of their lineup. We talked a lot the other day about, kind of the pace of play and controlling that and things like that. But, guards in France, they want to play fast. They can get to the rim. They're athletic. France is kind of a big body team. Like they really need to be throwing it inside, getting it to Wemby. Gobert doing what he does, whatever it is he can do offensively. Gershon Yabusele is really impressive. He's a guy that they kind of have to play through. So, hopefully Nando and his experience, DeColo and his experience will allow them to kind of play that way. But, and then Fournier is a guy you got to isolate. So as much as we talk about the U.S. not having the most complimentary team, I don't know how complimentary France's team is.
I don't think France got like any drop dead shooters either. You know what I'm saying? And I think in this tournament, that's gonna be key. And that's kind of what, we touched on the other day, man. I think when you look at Greece, when you look at Canada, France as well, they don't really have a lot of firepower behind the perimeter. So I think that's always going to be a problem for them, even though they should be able to protect the rim and rebound with the best of them.
Speaking of firepower, you see that shot right there by Steph Curry on the replay. I mean, that's a tough shot. I mean, able to get that, go inside the paint, stepping back, it makes it look so effortless.
That's some of a question too. Steph Curry's played in the world. This is his first Olympics, which I don't think a lot of people, I mean, I'm sure it's been publicized, but I think that's kind of surprising when you hear it. He's played in the Worlds, obviously, in 2014. But that this type of competition, those aren't shots that are going to win you this competition. I think the USA is disappointing 4 minutes into the game to see this flat start from the USA, especially coming off what they did in London. Like you would expect a little more sense of urgency against the NBA MVP, against the Serbian team, which is arguably the second best basketball country in the world.
I think Serbia is doing a really good job of throwing a little token pressure on the United States too, slowing down the tempo, making sure they're pressing on the break, trying to make them play at the pace that they want. They don't have the athletes to press full court, but you still give the effort, which changes up the rhythm as Booker drains another one from outside.
12-8 early. What do you think is going to be? KD's coming back into the lineup. Booker, that's a welcome sight too, as you mentioned. Booker, he didn't have the greatest of exhibition rounds, and even though they went 5-0, he was kind of, he non-existent at times. So to get him going, obviously, is going to get his defense going, which is what they probably need the most. But what do you think, KD? Where do you think he fits into all this, especially with how Steve Kerr's been playing the lineups?
I mean, when you look at him, I mean, what he can fit in any type of situation. The biggest thing is going to be his health. I mean, you're coming off the calf strain. He can do so many things. And prototypically, he's the best fit in that European game, being able to pick and pop and play every position. He can rebound. He can do so many things. I'm just interested to see how well he's going to be moving. I mean, we've all had an injury. When you're dealing with lower leg and calf issues, you got to gain trust in it. And that's the biggest thing. But if he's feeling good, I mean, he's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think KD scores in so many ways, and I think with his size on both ends of the court, man, I think he's going to be effective. And I think too, I mean, he just has an elite mid-range game, and he has the size to score on anybody within the mid-range. I think that's going to be a little easier for him trying to get acclimated. He doesn't need to get all the way to the rim, so I think he's going to find enough easy opportunities to kind of catch his rhythm here.
I like this lineup here. I think with Steve Kerr playing possum a little bit in the, going 5 in, 5 out, platoon subbing, kind of not showing his hand, because already 5 minutes in, this is a lineup we didn't see much. We didn't see much of. We got Derek White, AD, LeBron, and Book out there. I can't remember seeing that lineup in the exhibition, at least not for long. So, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, they have so many different lineup combinations. Is Bron at the 4? Is Bron at the 1? Like, what's the deadliest U.S. lineup to y'all?
I do think it's when you do play LeBron James in the low post and play him at the 4, because I mean, he's so physical. He has the ability that if he does have a international 4-man on him, that he can take him out on the perimeter. His versatility, he can do so many things because physically he has the same size. We saw in the exhibition games him taking it to the paint and showing his physicality at 39 years old, that he has no type of rust on his body when it comes to his ability to get physical. So that's not going to be a problem for him. And he just poses a major matchup problem. He's great at the point, but in the games, as it gets longer and longer, I think him playing the 4 is going to be a huge weapon for Team USA.
Yeah, I agree. I think also though you kind of have the luxury as well as putting him he can play the 4 and the 1 at the same time, theoretically speaking, you know. So, but I definitely do agree him playing out of the post, especially if you can like him at the 4 and KD kind of at the 5 or whatever, maybe him at the 5, KD at the 4, and then you just get real. It's kind of something I want to see where play him out of the post, put 4 shooters around him, and kind of see how defenses respond, see how defenses react. But I do love Bam. I'm not a fan of this Bam AD. I would rather see AD and Joel. But you know, they did have some success with it, but it's completely based off energy to me.
Yeah, I'd rather see the front line with either Bron and AD or Bam and AD. Bam and Bron. I'd rather see that front line, and then maybe having KD at the other wing spot and then interchange the guards. I think they got a lot of pieces. They could get real creative. I think it's going to really depend on the other team, on Serbia, and how they start playing, how they start attacking.
Tough finish right there. USA obviously got to get back in transition. Steve Kerr not happy with that, man. Let's talk about D Wade, man. D Wade making his debut as a USA commentator. I got a chance to listen to him a little bit in that Canada-Greece game. He does a good job breaking the game down. But what do you guys think about the move, putting D Wade in on the comms?
Yeah, Rich, tell us about the Rook, man. How's he doing?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, he seems to be settling down pretty well in his analysis. So I'll tell you one thing, the biggest thing that makes you comfortable when you're sitting sideline and analyzing the game is if you truly have some experience when it comes to those particular settings. He's able to give you a little bit of insight of not just about what's going on the court and the X's and O's, but what's it like being in an Olympic situation where you're coming from the exhibition games, you're traveling abroad, you got a new group of guys, you're playing against countries that you might not know everyone on this roster, but you know that they're really good players. He is able to be able to give that type of highlight. And if he can do that to the viewer who's watching this game at home, I think that he can give a little bit better analysis of the game. Now, I will say the area that he might struggle on is how much does he know about the other teams? When you look at the Serbian roster, you look at them, and obviously, you know Nikola Jokic, you know Micic as well. But do you know other players that everyone else who's played in the European game is familiar with that are really good players? Nikola Milutinov, all of these really good players who are high-level big men in the EuroLeague, very, very skilled, very accomplished. And can you give that to the viewer who's watching to understand the ability level of these international players? That will be his biggest challenge to me as an analyst.
Yeah, he struggled. He struggled the other day with as soon as it got into the Greece bench, and you know, it was different guys from the EuroLeague on Greece. He kind of deferred to the play-by-play guy, which is obviously not great. As you see KD getting back into action. Welcome back, KD. But yeah, he definitely struggled getting into kind of the breaking down the Europeans, not just their game, but just kind of the way they handle themselves on the court, which I thought is, I mean, I think you need that, right? It's the Olympics, it's supposed to be an international broadcast. Obviously, we live in the U.S., very U.S. centric, but yeah, I agree with you though. He's got to find a way to do that back-to-back threes. Love to see it. Love to see it.
Yo, I was having a conversation yesterday. We were talking about Vanya Marinkovic. And honestly, I think Vanya in today's NBA, I think he could play. We were talking about specialists and things like that in the NBA. I think he is like the perfect specialist player coming out of Europe. I feel like he got size. Obviously, he shoots the three at a high clip, but he also defends. I mean, he defends multiple positions. And it's just surprising to me that Vanya hasn't gotten a chance to come back over to the States. I think I'd like to see him get a shot in the NBA because I think he could be serviceable as a corner shooter and also offer you, the defensive side of the ball as well.
AG, can you give him, for the viewers who are watching, a little bit of background, the teams that he's played on, his ability, or Jordan as well?
Yeah, Vanya's he played at Partizan, coming out his draft year. I think who has his rights? I think Brooklyn has his rights. But he's played with Partizan, Valencia, and last year, the last couple years, he was on Baskonia, and now he's signed back to go to Partizan. He'll be playing with Carlik Jones next year. But Vanya's still only, I think he's like 26, 27 years old. And I think, at 6'7", 6'8", whatever he is, got length. He's athletic. He can defend and shoot it. Like I said, man, I think he definitely deserves a shot at the next level.
26, 27 is old.
It's old, but not to be bringing him back over from Europe. Micic is older than him.
Micic old too.
Hey, Misic's got a 3-year deal.
I'm just saying, based on conversations we've had in the past, based on conversations we had in the past, saying, why are we bringing I thought it was all about the young guys. What happened to
we talking about the draft, bro. I'm talking about bringing him over.
What's the difference?
I'm talking about a roster spot.
What's the difference?
Man, it's a different.
What's the difference between the draft and a roster spot?
It's a different level of investment. When you start talking about bringing him in on a minimum versus spending a first round pick on a kid, man, like those are two different tax brackets.
But I thought that 20-year-olds, guys over 20, have a lower rate of success than guys
right.
Under
but
20.
This is a specialist. You know what you're getting. The kid's been shooting 40% or he's been around it, for a better part of his career. I feel like you know what you're getting with him. And I think one thing we always worried about is are the Europeans going to be able to come to the league and defend? And I think he's consistently shown. He guards 1 through 4 almost, at the EuroLeague level in certain situations. Like he's shown that he can defend. So that's my gripe with why he hasn't made it over yet.
I guess
for many who haven't been able to tune into the show, we've had a recent conversation talking about NBA draft picks as well as prospects internationally. So we stand on having the conversation of where our players should they be picked. Should you pick with the youth movement, or should you sign more seasoned players to be a part of NBA rosters? As you look in the Olympics, as AG just pointed out, a really good player that plays for Partizan Belgrade, a powerhouse in Serbia, coached by Zeljko Obradovic, who is the Phil Jackson in European basketball with almost 10 EuroLeague championships, has a player who's a big-time player in the EuroLeague level, played for Valencia, which is in Spain, played for Baskonia in the EuroLeague in Spain, and now he has an opportunity on the national team to show his ability with Team Serbia, but has not made the jump to the NBA. But if you see his skill set to be able to shoot the ball from the outside, defend multiple positions, as we're talking about here, this is an older player that has the ability to play in the NBA, but has not necessarily gotten this opportunity, which was the topic that we had in the previous conversation that you might be able to log on to and go back and check out.
Steve Kerr, obviously up to date with the rules. A rough call there, right there. Micic on KD, and they keep it a common foul, which is shocking to me. Obviously, again, for background, international play has the take foul, but essentially it's a little bit different, deemed as an unsportsmanlike foul, and you get 2 free throws in the ball, so similar ruling, but a little bit different in nature. I was really surprised that they kept that as a common foul, though.
Hey, how important do y'all think it is for Serbia to keep this game close heading into halftime?
It's very
huge. As KD just knocks him down another 3 to get a 3-point lead. USA up 23-20. Serbia's got to get a quality possession right here and get a stop on the other end. Foul drawn. That's really good as a reset to be able to take it out and get a good set. But you cannot allow the runs to take place for Team USA if you are Serbia, because that's where they will get into the momentum. They'll get out in the break, and you got to keep it close.
Yes, that's everything. They got to not just halftime. They got to keep it as close as they can up until the fourth quarter and hope the USA gets tight. We know the talent difference is there. the thing that the USA has, to me, when we talked about earlier, what does KD bring back? And you said everything, but KD now brings the element. He brings the element that Melo brought his whole career. He allows you to get good shots every time down the floor without absolutely hogging the ball. He's going to space the floor right. He's going to lift correctly out of the pick and rolls. He can get you the one-on-one buckets, obviously, but he just makes the offense more efficient as well as add 7 foot on the defensive end. So that's what helps them late games. You have Bron with his bully ball already, but then you add KD as a floor spacer and all that. And I think he's probably the biggest difference now for Team USA and always has been.
As you see the end of the first quarter coming there, Serbia with a poor decision, pulling up and break under 10 seconds, and they paid the price. Team USA gets the breakaway, gets an easy alley-oop slam dunk to close out the first quarter, up 25-20, moving into the break.
First quarter, what you guys got? What you think? First reactions to USA coming out, man.
AG, you can take it this time.
Nah, I think USA's playing solid right now, man. I think they took the first blow, and I think they rebounded well, and you know, now they have a comfortable, not a super comfortable lead, but they do have a lead heading into the second quarter, man. I think this is where they really need to step on the gas and get a sizable double-digit lead here. So I think Serbia is kind of in trouble if they can't knock some shots down and obviously take some better shots and make the USA pay for their mistakes. But I don't think it's looking good right now, momentum-wise, for Serbia.
Yeah, I do agree. They're going to have to settle down for sure. But, you know, when you talk about turnovers, Team USA already in the first half with five turnovers that they've had, 5 for both of these teams as well. They're going to have to do a little bit better job of trying to keep the turnovers down if you are Serbia, because they're leading to the easy baskets, as you saw at the end for the other end. But shooting 60% from three, as opposed to 14% from three for Serbia. Team USA is getting every single shot. It's clear that they're trying to keep the Americans out of the paint, but they've been able to knock down shots and knock it down with the biggest scoring lead of the game being Team USA with an 11-0 run and Serbia with an 8-0 run. But if you look at the flow of the game, I think there are some positives that you have to take away if you are Serbia. You have to look at the fact that you did lead for the majority of that game, so you know that you can play with these guys. You just have to continue to go back to what you were doing in the beginning and try to get the game back into the pace that you desire.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Serbia having 4 NBA players, 8 EuroLeague players. Like you've mentioned before, you mentioned the other day, Rich, I don't think these guys are intimidated by the U.S. anymore. So I think it's a matter of them just settling in, with the turnovers and all that. But let me ask y'all this. If the U.S. obviously flip it around, and there's much to be made about the international game catching up to the U.S., but if the U.S. was to flip it around and take an international roster, do you think they would have a chance to win the gold at these Olympics? International meaning all non-NBA players.
Oh, wow. Is the international rosters going to have their NBA players?
International rosters will have their NBA players, yeah.
That's a great question.
That's a really good question. I do think they would be competitive, but I think it would be tough. There's some really good players. When you talk about the NBA caliber players that are really difference makers in the NBA, I'm not so sure if you have a lot of those guys on that level that are not in the NBA to win in the fashion in which it is. I mean, you already see that the gap is closing and you're putting the best athletes there. But it would be interesting to see. Who would you pick would be the question to represent Team USA.
Right.
I mean, I think you obviously start with Mike James, Kevin Punter, Wade.
Well, the problem is going to be this. The problem for me is going to be the big men, because we all know in the NBA, the prerequisite that you have to be in that league has to be size. And for many of the players that are EuroLeague level players that are really good, the only reason they're not in the NBA is because they lack the NBA size. So if they had it, they would be there. So if you want to start with the bigs, I mean, you're already going down a level when you compare them to who are the guys internationally that are holding it down. as KD gets another look at that, lining one up on the top of the key. He looks to be right back in in-game form and healthy, shooting the ball really, really well.
I think that the one thing the international guys would have an advantage over, obviously, the more talented NBA guys is a continuity. Like I think they just have an understanding of how to play off of each other. I don't think, to your point about the playmakers that the NBA guys are, the international guys, the international NBA players. How many of those guys are? And it's going to lead into kind of the next topic. How many of those guys are actual difference makers as well? Take away, obviously, Jokic, the obvious ones, Jokic, Giannis, Franz. How many of those international NBA players are I don't want to say legit, they're all legit NBA players, but how many of them are NBA difference makers?
And on the international stage, or
either? I mean, obviously, like, how many of them? I don't think there's much of a difference between Micic and Mike James. Mike James, to me, is probably either just as good or better.
Right. No, I get what you're saying there. I think Schroeder is a difference maker at this international level. I think he carries that German team. He dictates the pace. I mean, because Schroeder's the difference maker. I think Schroeder's more of a difference maker for Germany than Franz is.
Is Schroeder more of a difference maker than Kendrick Nunn would be?
Yeah. Because I think he scores and facilitates at a high level. Like, I think if Kendrick's not scoring, I don't think he's making an impact. Schroeder had 12 assists, 1 turnover the other day, 13 points. It wasn't even like a high scoring game for him, and he's done this consistently at this international stage.
I think it would be an interesting experiment that the U.S. team should try, maybe at the Worlds, where you have less to lose. You don't have, I shouldn't say less to lose, but it's not the Olympics. You're losing at the Worlds anyway. You might as well put together a team, have a real training camp, put together guy. Dante Hall is a guy who might be a big. You left off Lorenzo Brown. Would he play?
Yeah.
There's a multitude of guys that were left off the list. I'm sure we could go down and find more and more. Nigel Hayes-Davis, obviously, is a guy who would come. Yeah. There's guys who are in the G League. If you're talking about big man position, Micah Potter, again, on the international team, there's plenty of guys in the G League that you could choose from who would be great international bigs and probably don't go over there for whether they're on a two-way or the money they're getting in the G League is just as much, or they just don't want to be overseas.
But Jay, I think to your point, the biggest difference in the deciding factor of the game would be the mentality of the players. When you talk about international teams, the continuity that they have, playing with some pride for their country as they had their entire life, playing for similar coaches in a system that it's a selfless style. I think that's where the American team would struggle when you lower the level of talent compared to them, because they would have a hard time playing with each other. We've seen these type of rosters that they've put together when they played in other tournaments with USA basketball as well. They did not have the finishes that they would have to have against the international teams. So even if you do have talent that's non-NBA talent, they might be man for man just as good or better than the other rosters, but the synergistic style is what's going to be the biggest difference, and the lack of pride in it. Americans are going to come into those situations saying, this is the opportunity for me to shine. And can you take your situation and not try to be a 20-point scorer on the international stage? The international teams are playing these games to win. And you might have a guy like a Jokic who is a star and an MVP in the NBA, but on his team, it might be Teodosic might be the captain or the leader of that team, the guy who has the locker room's voice. Micic might be the guy that people are listening to a little bit more than
they say Bogdanovic got the heart and soul of the Serbian team. They say he's the voice of that Serbian team. They say Bogdanovic.
Right. So that's the thing that I think would make the biggest difference when you talk about all of the styles about to play against each other. Talent for talent, the United States has a lot of people, hundreds of guys that can be on this level. But can you put together a team with that type of continuity, synergy, and passion to play for your country? I think that's where the problem. I don't think they would medal, to answer your question, if you put them in the Olympics. I don't think they would medal. No.
Wow.
Who would coach that team?
I think you would have to get I think you get a European coach, not a necessarily European in nature, but a European more. I wouldn't have Steve Kerr coach the team. I'll tell you that much.
I would get a guy that definitely has international experience. I would get a guy that has had experience on a lot of levels. The problem of it is, from American mentality, how much will even those guys respect the coach of that level that's had some G League experience, that's coached internationally? So it's the mentality that plays the biggest difference when you're talking about how these guys would play to win.
So you're telling me that Mike James, Wade Baldwin, if you told them they get a chance to go play at Worlds, that they wouldn't play, they wouldn't have country pride in that? They wouldn't have the level of pride that, say, a Serbian team would have in playing for the Serbians in their country?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been 2015 or so. There was a team that was put together for the Pan Am Games that took the model that you had, and they had top-level EuroLeague scores, had guys from the G League. I don't think they even medaled, and that was in the Pan Am Games, not even against the European teams and the other teams from wrestling around the world.
Yeah,
so, it has happened.
I think that falls more into what you're talking about. I think the Pan Am Games are a little bit different. I think the approach and the mentality is different for the Pan Am Games than they are for the World Championships, and definitely different than they would be for the Olympics.
Yeah,
the Pan Am Games aren't televised. Nobody's really checking for the Pan Am game. That's a place where, all right, I'm sure the Pan Am Games had several NBA coaches, probably had the USA. They're probably looking at that as, oh, how can I get on in the league?
Hey, but look, I think the thing we're missing here is if Mike James and them guys had to play, let's say in like this event, you're playing against Europeans and they got to go back to their European teams, and if they lose, they got to hear it from everybody.
Like that's where
you got to hear it walking. That's where the pride is going to come from. I don't think it's going to come from naturally, like where these players get it from. Like they've been playing with the national team since they were like kids at 16 years old and whatnot, and I don't think it comes from the same place, but I think they would play with a different sense of pride because when you go back to your teams, you're going to have to hear it if you lose to a Serbia or France or Spain.
You're saying that the Americans would have a different pride going back to their team?
Yeah, Americans would have Americans would have a different pride.
For me, I think this. I believe that they're just not going to have it. I think that they're going to look at the situation and say, this is my opportunity to get to the league. It's just going to be just that. You're trying to get to the league. You're on the big stage. As you mentioned, Vanja Marinkovic is out here playing for Serbia. He has NBA talent and skill in what he's able to do. But he's not playing in this tournament with a mindset of, if I go off, someone will sign me to the league. When this is over, he's headed to Partizan's training camp. And he's going to be a hero in Belgrade if they get a medal or whatnot. And he's going to be fine with that. And he's ready for the next situation. But when it comes to American mentality, every single game, you're going to be thinking, this is my opportunity to shine. And if people see that, then, I'll be able to go forward. As the game now, 40-30, USA with a big lead. LeBron on the baseline cut with a dunk.
USA's offense my bad to interrupt, my bad. But USA's offense is looking very sharp. They're moving the ball, they're moving bodies, much different than it was in the 5-on-0. But that being said, a couple of questionable calls there for Jokic. He gets back-to-back and ones. I don't agree with the fact that these guys, the Mike James of the world, wouldn't be playing for pride and that they would just be to get to the league. A majority of these dudes have either already touched the league or making probably more money in Europe than they would get paid to be in the league, regardless of what they did in that situation. And I think those guys have a very, very good understanding of that at this point in their career, because they've been did over by the league several times, whether they feel like it or not. So I think that's I don't know. I think that's selling our mentality in general short to just assume that.
You got to get 12 of them. I mean, you mentioned maybe a quality 4, Nigel Hayes-Davis, Mike James. You mentioned, and then you start going Kendrick Nunn. You keep going down the road. You got to get 12 that's going to come together with the continuity. And there's a big shot right there.
I mean, you got Clyburn, you got Dwayne Bacon. I mean, I think you got bodies, man. You got bodies.
A lot of them, guys. And there's got no longer NBA guys who probably kick a China, whatever it is. That is a big shot by Jokic. I think there's some, I don't know why I refuse to feed into the misconception that these Europeans are selfless and altruistic for their country. Like they're not out here playing for money too. Like I think that's the craziest. I don't get it. These dudes are out here doing the same thing. Like they're out here trying to, what it might just be for Fenner. They're trying to get a bigger contract the next year. But these dudes are playing selfishly as well. There's better roles. I'll give you that. It's an understood hierarchy. But I feel like, again, if you build with international players, then it's easier to build an understood hierarchy rather than getting 12 NBA superstars.
Yeah, that's a fact. I think building that building off with building that team with American international players, I think would be a lot easier. But yo, we got a comment here from Trey Jones. He got a comment for Jordan. He says, "Why Tatum not playing?" I want Jordan to answer specifically. Jordan.
My guy Trey, man, pull up, man. We gonna send you the link. You gonna pull up? Matter of fact, I'm gonna text you right now. Hop in the live, man. But listen, that's one thing we haven't touched on, and I was trying to let Rich finish. KD has not missed a shot, but the odd man out is Jason Tatum, which is kind of what I was asking when I said, where does KD fit in? There had to be an odd man out. I don't understand why it's Jason Tatum. That's a great question. You go ahead and tell me, Trey. You got the in, you got the plugs, you got the connects. Let me know.
Yeah,
send a message, let us know. Yeah. So that's your Duke. That's your Duke brother too, man. They doing him dirty, but I think Jason Tatum. I'm gonna just go ahead and assume he's hurt because I know it ain't matchups. That's for damn sure. What y'all think?
Yeah, for everyone listening, tune into and log into the chat. Fill us up with your questions here on the Swiss Cultures live stream, checking out the first round game of Serbia versus USA in the Olympic Games 2024 from Paris. Hit us up in the chat as we talk about Trey Jones, giving a little bit of comment of Jason Tatum and what he can bring to this Team USA team. Did you hear anything? Is he injured? Is there some reason he's not been able to make?
I don't know. I don't know if y'all seen his body language over there, but he was leaned back, legs crossed, stretched out like he was at a barbecue. Man, I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there. He was looking real comfortable though.
Yeah. See, now we're back. Now we're back to talking about the mentality. Now you see what I'm saying? We got Jason Tatum. He's coming fresh off of winning the world championship with the Boston Celtics. He's on Team USA, and you're talking about the body language. He does look pretty comfortable sitting over there on the bench. I mean, we all know how it is. He posed there as he knew the three-pointer was coming. As many of there watching USA, Steph Curry knocking one down from the wing, takes a 46-36 lead.
Jason Tatum, but yeah, go ahead, finish. My bad.
It's just all about the mentality. I'm saying on the roster as you had about playing with each other.
That's not an apples to apples comparison. Never will be. This man is the highest paid player in the NBA, not getting no burn on the Olympic stage. There's obviously not to say that other guys don't have ego, but shoot, I would be. If Nikola Jokic or if Bogdanovic was over there not playing for Serbia, he would not be over there cheering loudly if he's just if someone else was playing over him. I don't care what. You can't convince me otherwise.
I agree with that. But that's the same thing that I'm saying about if you had the non-NBA guys playing in the game, that you think that they would have a little bit more pride just because they're playing for Team USA in the Olympics. They would have the same thing if they're not playing. They would act the exact same way. They're not
because it would be understood. Again, it would be a more defined hierarchy. Like the guy on Serbia who's not playing, the 12th man on Serbia is not over there.
You gonna tell me Wade Baldwin wouldn't be upset if he wasn't playing and he was watching Kendrick and then playing ahead of him?
Wade Baldwin, but you don't. Again, you just name guys. You don't have to take Wade, Kendrick, Lorenzo. You don't have to take all five of them. Right. Like you're not going to take. You going to again. This is all part of team. Of course, he would be. But it's all part of team building. Like you're not going to take a guy. It's going to be understood that he's the 11th guy. That's why Team USA used to take that 12th guy as a young guy, Christian Laettner, Anthony Davis. That's why they did that, because there was going to be an odd man out.
Jason Tatum thinks that he is the 12th guy on this roster.
Exactly. That's the problem. What I'm saying is the 12th
no
guy
one who's the 12th guy thinks it.
What? That's not true. The 12th guy on Serbia knows that. He over there in his warm-up cheering loud. Look at him standing up down there clapping. He's up there cheering.
Euro's
Yeah,
probably the
thank
12th
you.
man right there.
Euro,
Nah,
He
accepted that.
He's happy to make
he
the team.
accepted that. He accepted
sure.
that. You don't have to have 12. You don't have
That's
to
a
build your
fact.
team with 12 guys. Like, this is the U.S. and what they chose to do. You don't have to do that.
Well, you better make sure you do your due diligence. I mean, we've all been on a lot of teams. We all know that type guy on the team can bring your team down with the quickness. So it's very important. Your bench players, for me on teams, it's not just the 12th guy. We know he's not going to have the attitude, but if you want to have a winning team, as KD once again, my goodness. I saw the people who might be lagging a little bit behind, my goodness, going to work. But 16 points he has, once again, in that mid-range, as we talked about. But you got to have the team players who are numbers 7, 8, and 9 who are bought into their situation.
You could make the same argument because Tyrese Halliburton hasn't checked in either, has he? And you see him up there yelling on the bench, screaming. Look at him.
I think Tyrese Halliburton I think he might be the 12th guy on this team. And he knows.
Okay, but that either way,
he knows
that's okay. You just said nobody knows they the 12th guy on the team, but the point is that's not an American mentality. Whatever's going on with Jason Tatum, I have no idea. I'm sure it will come out after the game, but that's not that's not good defense there. Bam Adebayo got to be up on the screen. You can't let Bogdanovich just come off wide open, uncontested. But point is that's not just it's clearly not just an American mentality. I think that's a little bit outrageous. I think it's
100%. We're not saying that it's not, but the question, what I'm saying is, oh my goodness. And, if I'm not going to spoil it for the people that's tuning in that might be lagging a little bit behind.
Nah, go on, spoil it, man. I'm in the future.
My
so
goodness.
Go on, spoil it for him.
Wow.
KD, man.
Goodness gracious.
There, Tatum, look, smiling, cheesing. Look at him.
Man,
hey, we all know the camera's on us, man.
Yeah.
The camera been on him.
We all
got
that courtesy smile. We all had that courtesy smile from the bench.
Nah, he got up for that because KD putting on the show because he was sitting down the whole time and he just stood up. However, I would be very, 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 very nervous if I was the U.S. You're up by 7 points, shooting 67% from three, 66% from the field, and up by 7 with 5 seconds left to go in the first half. That is not a good sign, giving up 49 first half points to a Serbia team. I think we talked about again the other day, defense and defensive intensity has to pick up from the USA squad. I know it's an older team, but that's always been the staple of the great USA teams.
Well, they've had a little bit of success when they were to get out into the break. You saw Drew Holiday doing what he does, getting out with his active hands, getting a steal, getting an easy deuce for United States in the break. He's going to have to be the guy that's going to have to carry the energy. You mentioned this is an older roster. LeBron James, 39 years old. Kevin Durant, 35 years old. Steph Curry, 35 years old. So you have so many bodies who are veteran players that might not have the mentality to come in and play this role, but you're going to have to definitely do it to try to break this lead and get this game wide open. It's got to happen on the defensive end.
Definitely does have to happen on the defensive end. However, if KD is shooting like this, then who needs defense, man? Get the ball out. We'll get it back on the other end. Let them dudes score. We gonna get it right back. Don't trip.
A fact. And we got 6 seconds left until halftime for all y'all viewing in. Please leave your comments in the post your comments on the stream, and we'll get to your questions during halftime coming up here in a minute.
Live stream strat presented by Swiss Cultures. USA up 56-49. 6 seconds to go in the second quarter, moving to the half. What you running in this situation, Jay?
Oh, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still
Bronny James Jr. downhill.
Nah, we're not doing that. Bronny James Sr. That's going to be Ant downhill with a spread. Looks like with a spread, KD and Steph spread out, or Bron going to get downhill, spread the floor, and see if they collapse pretty easy. Maybe a screen at half court, something like that to bring the big out. Serbia's got to pick up.
A little bit of pressure. They're showing a little pressure, a little bit full court. See what they're going to do. You throw it down, or do you try to catch this in the back court with a head of steam? How do you do this? What do you want to do if you're inbounding this?
Okay, here's what they're going to You can see how they're set up. They're going to run D-Book off of Bam, and then if they switch it, throw it to Bam and hand it right back to Ant to get downhill is what it looks like. Otherwise, it'll be D-Book getting downhill. Obviously one of those three, but I think you prefer a little rub screen from Bam off the catch and hand back to Ant.
It looked like Bron trying to check in, but they might.
I was wondering why Bron wasn't in there.
No, he's trying to check in now, but I guess the officials trying to stop him from getting in.
You don't need him. Let Ant do his thing. Let Ant do his thing.
They go to them Euro refs controlling the game.
Can you be the best player on the floor if you can't go? If you can't be on the floor for defense late in games, like, can you be the best player on the floor?
If you can't defend?
If we have to take you out in defensive situations, either late in game, late in quarters, can you be the best player on the floor?
I don't think so. I don't think you got to be a two-way player to be considered the best player on the court.
So who's the best? Because a lot has been made about will the U.S. how many games played will the U.S. have the best player on the floor? Obviously, it's been, talk about Serbia with Jokic, Greece with Giannis. Who am I forgetting? That might be it. There's one other one that I'm forgetting. Y'all help me out. Who am I forgetting? Let's go.
Shea?
Oh, who?
Shea.
Canada with Shea. Thank you. And so that being said, is Jokic the best player in this game right now?
In the whole game, no, he's not the best player in the whole game. For Serbia, I mean, you can't. I mean, they have better bigs. There's your play.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a strategy. That was a quick 6 seconds. Did they add more time on the clock? Because now we're only at 5.2.
I don't know.
Add it back.
Gives up a foul. Did they add more time? Is that what they were discussing?
Sideline, man. That clock got glue on it, man.
It looks like that's what they're having a conversation about right here. As Bogdanovich gives up the foul near half court.
They're discussing what kind of foul this was.
And for those NBA fans as well, that doesn't count as a take foul. You can foul. You don't have to. You're supposed to go for the ball, but
if I was AE, I would have kicked it over to Bron. Though he got Milutinov. You got Milutinov backpedaling against Bron up that right side by himself. I would have let Bron eat in that situation because Milutinov was too far back to take that foul.
I think I would have kept it if I was AE. That man.
Yeah,
he is, but he's
trying to get to the league. You trying to get to the league. You ain't playing with pride. That's why. You ain't playing with pride.
Man, look, he already there. He got his 260. Let me go ahead.
You guys want another 260, Jay?
Yeah.
He gonna get it. He gonna get another 360 or whatever it is. Another 360. It's the hassle. D Wade made comment, was shocked the other day when the FIBA referees had to go behind into the stands to do the replay as opposed to having the headphones in front of the bench. He couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Oh, y'all about to like this next one. Y'all about to like this next play. God damn.
It's the first ever live stream to have alternate viewings by the participants. You know what I'm saying? It's a little staggered viewing, I should say.
I'm a little closer to the action, man. So I guess my feed's a little quicker.
Yeah. That Wi-Fi in Macedonia pulling through, man.
It is.
Speaking of which, Richard Hendrix is a Macedonia passport holder, or was at one point.
Talk to me.
Hey, my goodness.
Yo,
Did they take your passport from you?
No, I still got it. If they need me, I can go ahead and get in some type of shape.
What you need for the next Olympics, for the next qualifier round?
Oh, I need a lot to make sure. Listen, but maybe I can get a little bit of juice from Kevin Durant. That's been 21 points, 8 for 8 from the field, and they draw up that beautiful play right there with 3 seconds to go in the second half and a fadeaway from the mid-range. Team USA extending their lead, and that was a huge shot going into the second half because they really needed that. That might be a little bit to kind of take a little bit of the life away from Serbia moving into the second.
Definitely. Kevin Durant, LeBron James. What is it? What's their stat line right now? Can y'all guess?
21 points for KD, 8 for 8 shooting, and LeBron James is
5 for 5, 13 of 13 between the two, 33 of the 58 U.S. points.
Goodness.
Which was, there was obviously a lot of talk about after LeBron took over the games late in the London games. So who's the alpha on this team? To your point, Rich, everybody thinks that who is the true alpha? KD came out and said he sees why LeBron is considered the best player of all time. The more and more he spends time with him and is his teammate. So who's the real alpha?
Well, they have experience playing with each other. They played with the 2012 champions in London, in the Olympics in London. So they have the experience. I mean, hey, as people have been trying to say for over a decade, who's better, LeBron or Kevin Durant? I mean, you're splitting hairs. I mean, obviously, you got to give a king his respect for what he's been able to do to the game, carrying so many teams, going to the finals so many years on the Eastern Conference, winning championships, and being the face of the league. But as you talk about skill and ability, this thing is 1A, 1B. I mean, the things that they can do, rebound, dribble the ball, facilitate for others, the leadership, shooting is something that they both can do at a high clip. I mean, so it's spectacular to see. I can't say that one of them is the alpha on this team. They're doing a really good job of playing with each other.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. But I just love watching this competition because I believe, like, I guess even more so today, the Olympics is what we want the all-star game to be, where the top players in the NBA, are playing hard against each other. And, this is dope to actually see these guys, some of the best players in the NBA out there, playing defense at a high level and playing together and sharing the ball. So, man, I'm really glad we get to see this, especially with so many international NBA players as well, get to compete on the same stage.
Loaded with NBA roster talent. Both of these teams, Serbia, Jordan said earlier, at least 4 players on the Serbian national team, NBA experience, obviously the entire roster for Team USA with reps in the league. Big reason why you have a 58-49 lead here at the half. Kevin Durant 8 for 8 from the field and 21 points. As we take another look at this team, Mike Tirico interview and sit down with Don Staley. Talk about an Olympian. Many people might not know the first flag bearer for basketball, period, before Team USA in the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, Georgia. 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time National Player of the Year at Virginia, and went to the Final Four 3 times. So just an icon in the sport. And now moving up to being one of the best coaches in the game 3 times, has been a national champion, 7-time SEC Coach of the Year, and won the SEC regular season and tournament 8 times. Don Staley, University of South Carolina's coach, now having an interview there in Paris to talk about the lead that USA has over Serbia at the half. Goods, when you look at this, not only what's going on in the pool play, but moving forward, talking about other teams in it. We touched a little bit about France and what they had, but we didn't talk about what this Canadian roster have been able to do. They got the first round win over Greece, 86-79 over Giannis Antetokounmpo and crew. But what do you think that roster can do in this game as far as the tournament is concerned? Can they make a little bit of noise?
Yeah, I think they could definitely make a little bit of noise. I mean, they have length, they have athleticism. I think they can get up and down the floor. And I think they have, they got guys that can defend the ball as well. I will say, like, last year, especially on the World Cup stage, I was really, really impressed with Dylan Brooks in his defense. Just the angles that he takes, the way he jams screens or get under screens. I love the way he navigates, pick and roll screens and off ball screens. But yeah, I think they got a nice mix of guys that can, make plays happen and score the ball. And I think with, as we talked about the other day, being able to play at a high pace, especially when you're playing against the likes of like Team USA or Germany, you're going to have to be able to, play the European game at an NBA pace. And I think Canada has the right team equipped to do that.
And they got a lot of talent, NBA talent all over that roster. But when you talk about matchups playing against teams, do they have the personnel that matches up well against Team USA? Or in a tournament, do you want to have contrasting styles when you're competing against one another in order to give yourself a chance to win against the reigning champs.
Yeah, I think you definitely yeah, we can hear y'all. We can hear y'all. Y'all on, man. JT, can you hear me? Let me get him off stage. He's tripping right now. But no, I mean, I think it's better to have a contrasting style. I mean, I don't think you want to play, the American style of basketball with Team USA. I don't think anybody can do it, the way that they can. And I think that, teams that are able to play a little more Eurocentric style of play and move the basketball without putting it on the floor and shooting the three at a high clip, I think they're always going to have more success than somebody that tries to play that NBA style of basketball, with Team USA. I mean, you're just not built for it. And I think teams got to get away from that.
Yeah, I think I do tend to agree with you. I think that when you play that similar style for this FIBA style, you do have to have that. But talent, you look at that Canadian roster, they have so many really good players. They have size. They have that defensive prowess, as you mentioned, talking about Dylan Brooks and what he's able to do. They might be able to make a little bit of noise in this game. But as you see, given a little bit of trouble here in the first half, Serbia in this 9-point advantage, they'll have to make some adjustments in the second half to see if they can get back in this one. But the biggest thing I think they're going to have to work on is going to be the defensive end of what can you do with LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yeah, nah, for sure. And I was about to ask, like, what adjustments would you make if you're Serbia on the defensive end?
Well, I think one thing that y'all guys pointed out that might be something that's really, really important. If you got to take Nikola Jokic out of the game, then what does that say about his defensive liability, him being a defensive liability in a game against what Team USA is doing? So in order to have him in the game, you're going to have to change up some of your defenses. If I'm Serbia, if you don't feel like he can get up and press a little bit and change up the rhythm, you might have to switch your defenses up in the middle of scheme, show a little bit of man, then drop back into zone, put the full quarter court pressure on them, and then get back and switch up defense just to see if Team USA can get in their rhythm, get out of their rhythm. You got to be able to throw something at them to change it over, because the strength of the Serbian team is going to have to be on the offensive end. So they're going to have some type of curveball to throw at them defensively, but you got to have Jokic on the court. He facilitates so much for the team. You can post him up. He's done a really good job. But I think they're going to have to also pick up the pressure defensively. You have to continue to slow down the pressure and put someone on the press to press the ball up the court. But when you get in the half court, you're going to have to switch up your defenses. You're going to have to go to some zones. You're going to have to change something. You might have to trap someone and see what happens when you give up an option and force Team USA into a quicker shot. But they've been doing a really good job. You saw in that earlier, that dunk that LeBron had on the baseline cut where Drew Holiday caught that thing in the short roll in the middle of the paint, whipped it around. That was some European-style basketball to see how they were moving that, and that's what they're going to have to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be mad if they tried to experiment hard hedging, hard hedging the pick and rolls, especially when KD's coming off. I think that's kind of a look that, I think it's kind of a look that, you don't see so much on an NBA floor, and you do have the benefit of having a smaller court over here internationally. So, I think you kind of have to, bring as much pressure as possible and trust your rotations, man. But look like we got JT back on board, man. Unmute your mic.
Had a little technical difficulties as JT gets back into us and introduce our guest to the show.
Not technical difficulties, just a technologically challenged. Had to unmute the mic, man. But look, I'm back. I disappeared. I came back with a guest, man, a man of many talents with us. We got a 9-year overseas pro, British Basketball League studio host, and an entrepreneur, and the girls know him probably even more so as a reality star, Love Islands, Ovie Soko, man. Ovie, was good, dog? Talk to the mic, man. Talk to the mic.
Love. Appreciate you guys having me, man. Good to pull up. I'm very familiar with everyone on this show. I don't know how much you guys know me, but I know exactly who you dudes are. And it's love, man. It's good to be here.
Of course, we know who you are. We had a lot of battles competing against you back in the day, man. So how can we not know who you are?
No, come on, don't do that. Don't do that. I remember watching you on the floor from the bench. I know exactly who you are. You might not remember me, but yeah, no, it's complete respect, man.
That's
Same
Richard
here,
too.
same
You
here.
know, he's as Richard is now ESPN and SEC
Big
basketball
time.
analyst.
It's big
Yeah, so
time.
that's Richard
Yeah.
now. You
He
know
was
what I'm saying?
big time when I ran into him, and he's big time now.
Yeah,
Same.
man. Yeah, man. But thanks for pulling up, man. Thanks for pulling up. Obie was on his way, bobbing around London, decided to pull up at the crib, man. So listen, man, we want to talk a little bit about obviously Olympic basketball. We want to start at you, obviously a member of the UK Olympic team. Talk to us about your experience with that and maybe some of the steps that need to be taken for UK to get to the Olympic level, especially now you got guys like Ovie Soko, Jeremy Sohan, who plays for Poland but needs to come on back home. But just talk about your experience.
I think the grassroots level, we have a lot of work to do from the grassroots level. As far as the type of players we have access to, we have a very similar demographic to France. So I feel like the model and the how-to is there, but it's about how many investors want to get involved. How are we going to build the facilities to be able to bring back guys like OG and our top players? Because it's one thing saying, okay, now we have this talent that has really grown overseas, but now in order to bring them guys back, we need to make sure we have the facilities to house the talent.
You mentioned a little bit about the talent, but tell me a little bit about what was the experience for you like in the Olympic Games? Tell the people a little bit how they felt when you were in the Olympic Village, when you were competing, seeing all the other athletes. What's that type of experience like?
I got pump brakes on that. I got cut. I got cut from the Olympic team. So I was enjoying the process on the lead up to, but I ain't make it into the village. But in its own, I feel like
So
I was at a place.
They made a mistake, huh?
No, they didn't. I wasn't ready.
They need new management. That's why he got to find some new investors. That's why we got to get new investors, man.
Yeah, right. That's what stuck out to me. The investment. Actually, real shit. Talk about you said investment, man. A lot of people, basketball is considered to be a meritocracy. So talk about, obviously, with this past year, the London Lions and the British Basketball League trying to grow and doing all that. Like, just talk about what you mean by the investment side of things in basketball.
At the end of the day, everywhere where we see the best talent around the world sort of come from, they have access to seeing the game, and seeing the game at a high level, be it in Greece, be it in Spain, be it in France. There's exposure to it. You expose the younger youth to the game, they're going to want to be that, and then you put the facilities in place to help bring them along as far as the coaching, et cetera, et cetera. That's how you grow the game and take it to another level. What the London Lions were really attempting to do was really put that in place. First, from an exposure standpoint, I think the British League had much more exposure than it ever had on a worldwide scale. People had access to it in the States, you had access to it in Canada, as well as around Great Britain. But then on top of that, they started to make it look cool. The way they advertised it, they brought in the right kind of talent, talent like JT, like a couple other NBA guys that give kids something to aspire to that they can touch. They can come to the games and they can see these guys in front of them, and that's how you create the next wave of talent. So I think London Lions, they had the right idea. Obviously, ran into a couple problems, but yeah, that's where it all starts from, in my opinion.
I think it was huge, man. Just coming home and seeing the British Basketball League on at 2:00 in California. Being able to watch it in Miami, Florida. I thought that was huge because all of us that played overseas, especially from the States, man, that was our one complaint. Is like, man, the games don't be on back at the crib,
Right?
And and I think that shout out to Aaron Raiden and everybody over there that got that done, man. I thought that was huge for international basketball in general, and BBL was definitely on the right track.
Definitely so, man. Also, though, you have a Nigerian passport as well.
Yeah.
So, kind of, let's talk about that too. South Sudan now kind of taking the reins as the, Africa gets one bid in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Nigeria kind of started that way, man. Did you ever have an opportunity to go play with your Nigerian passport?
Oh, I did. and I turned it down. It was at the under-20s, you know, so I was still in the juniors, and I played at one tournament with the under-20s GB team, and that was when the Nigerian team sort of reached out to me. But at that stage, my parents, having grown up in Nigeria and understanding the economical situation over there, a lot more of the off-the-court politics, and just everything not quite being put together and packaged maybe as well as I assumed things would have been over here, that probably deterred me, which in hindsight, I regret a little bit. But, you know, everything works out well in the end.
Yeah. Work out how it's supposed to.
Exactly.
Man. We're back to USA, coming right back into it, talking about some of that European basketball they're playing. Serbia applying this pressure, and the USA doing a great job of counteracting it with these back cuts. It's a lot of, as we say in America, Hoosier basketball, right?
Hoosier basketball, not Wisconsin basketball. It's not Wisconsin basketball.
It definitely ain't Wisconsin basketball, man. But listen, you can't beat me. So you keep talking about this Wisconsin Stanford stuff. You can't beat me.
Oh no, that is a fact, man. I hollered at Darren Collison, man, yesterday, man. Shout out to DC, man. He tore his Achilles. Old ass out there hooping in the TBT, man. I ain't challenging none of y'all hooping dudes no more. I'm done. I hung it up. I don't want no smoke. You know, y'all got it. Man.
What do you guys think?
You're a smart man. I'm right there with you, Goods. I'm done playing. When you hang it up, you gotta hang it up. When you mess around and get hurt.
Man,
what do you guys think about the discussion now? Like, there's a lot of discussion about the world catching up to the USA. I don't know if you guys have already touched on that topic, but you know, I feel like the pride side is what we're seeing from this team that USA have put together. Like, this isn't a regular, you know, USA team, in my opinion. There's always been those years where you can tell that the USA has set out to prove a point. It's not about just winning. They want to win and they want to beat everyone bad.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, to answer the question, I do not think that the world has caught up as far as talent is concerned. I don't even think that it's close. I mean, now I do think that America has some problems when it comes to its basketball from the youth level and growing really good players. But if you're just looking at the current players who are still on top, 39 years old, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, that crop is still playing. And they're still far better than anything else is out there in the world. Now, time will tell. But I think that the narrative is that the world is catching up. I think when you look at the top players from abroad that play in the NBA, they may be really good, but it's not like they all come from the same country. And that's what people don't think. I think, unfortunately, the knowledge that Americans have on international anything is really low. I think when you see, it's just like we played overseas. I tell everybody all the time when I talk to people, like, hey, man, overseas is not just one league. Like, you know, essentially they all think that. It's like, hey, I got a buddy, he's playing over in Argentina. It's like, man, dude, I'm playing in Spain. Like, that's not even on the same
different.
continent. I don't even know where that is. So I don't think that the talent in one particular country internationally is as good as anything that we have just in the States. But maybe the collection of it might be impressive, but it's not close to what I think the United States has on the whole.
I think as well that it doesn't. America, unfortunately, we're not very aware of also our own talent in a sense, if that makes sense. Where even if you look just in this Olympic Games, there's 4 teams that are really American teams. If you want to be honest, South Sudan, it's an American Canadian team, whatever. And then Canada, every superstar on Canada grew their game in the United States. So whether they grew up in Toronto, fine. Toronto, I get it, it's in Canada. I'm not about to sit here and argue geography with y'all. And then you have the Puerto Rican team, which is dudes from Chicago, the Bronx, et cetera, et cetera. That's 4 out of the 12 teams that are really American teams. Shea Gilgeous, Jamal Murray, they both went to Kentucky. That's where they grew their game. I understand they grew up in Toronto or wherever. Luke Dort went to school in the States. Kelly Olynyk went to school. Kelly Olynyk went to Gonzaga. Dwight Powell went to Stanford. Like,
they had another Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles went to Kentucky, didn't he?
Trey Lyles went to Kentucky. You go to Nikhil Alexander Walker went to Kentucky. So it's really just a team full of guys that grew their game. I understand where they grew up, but when you go back to the investment side of things, the investment was made into these players either in America or they were born in America or were born in their country and grew up in America. So, yeah, to your point, Rich, it's not a conversation to be had.
But there's a hold on, guys. Hold on now.
Yeah, we got Foreigner. Hold on now. Sometimes I be forgetting Ovie and Foreigner. I just put them in our.
I got layers to this question. So with that being said, and I agree. You know, if you're just looking like at face value, talent, yeah, America, you guys are still producing monsters. It's different, but with the style of game that the NBA is perpetuating, with the game being pushed more towards the skill side, I think that is where America is leaving the door open. Maybe not in 10 years, maybe not in 20 years. Because, of course, there's the advantage. America, you guys have had the head start on the sport. But in the next 30, 40 years, if the game keeps on going towards this skill-based game that it's becoming less and less predicated on, okay, can you jump over someone? Because we're seeing Luka Doncic dominate. The guy can't jump over a burger. But now we're seeing skill being valued maybe more than when I was growing up. When I was growing up, power forwards were power forwards. You had the two big men on the blocks and you had the pin down actions.
Right.
A lot of offense was worked out at. So now that is, you know, now you're seeing it very guard heavy. Every big can dribble and do. But these are all things Europeans works in their favor because maybe on one hand they don't have certain athletic ability. So do you think that leaves the door open for them, for the rest of the world to catch up quicker, if that makes sense?
I think when you look at the international stars, by and large, I think you have to also take into account they're all physically dominating. You know, I think Luka Doncic is physically dominating at the guard spot. Giannis is physically dominating at his position. Jokic is the same thing. So with the game, obviously moving, like you said, and becoming more of a skilled game, I think you do leave the door open for more stars to come in and international stars to come in and dominate the game because they've always had the skill, but physically they couldn't compete. Let's say like back in the past with like the Oakleys and the Barkleys and all these guys. But now we're starting to see a lot more international players come in and be physically ready to dominate this game. So I think down the road, you know, even as I watch like the younger generation, man, like we still can't shoot the ball in the States at the youth level like that. You know what I'm saying? Like internationally, they still got it. We still can't shoot the ball, man. I was at Peach Jam, man, and it was embarrassing. You know, so I don't know, man. I think it'll be different in 10 years.
I do think that they definitely have a chance to make a catch. They're never going to catch up because of the athleticism aspect.
Yeah.
And that will always make a difference. But I think the problem for USA basketball and just youth basketball in general is just the way that we go about teaching our kids the game and the amount of games that they play. That's going to be the difference in it. Because when I look at it, I go to youth games, I coach, I go around and watching them. It's way too many games compared to practicing. And the game is predicated more so on dribbling and ball handling skills. And you see at an 8-year-old level, kids playing pick and roll. And it's like, you're not learning how to play the game if you're the other 4 players on the court. And that's the difference, I think, how it was in our generation. You got your best kid get the ball. You run some kid up, he sets a screen, and he shoots all of the shots, and nobody else learns how to play. So to talk about like Good said, you don't learn how to shoot anymore. They don't shoot. We can't pass, which is the worst skill that we have now in the youth game.
Can't move.
You don't know how to move without the basketball. I think those are the things in the American game that are really going to really mess things up when you talk about competing against the rest of the world, because they all come from a soccer environment internationally. You know how it is. We all play overseas. Everybody overseas knows how to play soccer. And when you're playing soccer, you got to know how to see this guy over here for this pass. You pass it, then you cut and get open. You got to know how to move. You got to know angles. You got to see things developing before it happens. So in the team game, they have an advantage over ours because our game is so stealth-centered. Because one guy trying to get a triple-double, playing middle pick and roll or side pick and roll, and quarterbacking the whole thing. I think that's going to be the death of basketball in America. They need to make a big adjustment to that in the youth level, in my opinion, and it needs to happen fast.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell y'all this. Once
Hey,
the
good. It's supposed to be 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2 back
all right,
to
but you
1,
can wait.
man. You know
Hey,
what I'm
but
saying?
you can wait though. You can wait though. Hey, but on the real,
Let them
man, I
wait.
think on the real, man, I think the development of Africa, man, is something that needs to be talked about. And I think that when we start talking about athleticism, length, size, measurables, and all that, you don't have to look any further past that. We're just waiting on the game to develop, from a tactical standpoint. But I mean, watching some of the young players coming off of the continent, you're starting to see guards come out of there now, which is a great sign. And talking to some of my contacts over there, they say they're starting to work out and use Instagram as a learning tool. And I think once the continent catches up skill wise, I think it's going to be scary for not just the United States. I think for Europe as well.
The skill
It's
side.
happening too. Go ahead, Jay.
It's happening. Go ahead. You go ahead. I can wait.
No,
Well,
now you can go. Now you could go, Jay. Now you can go.
He a guest. It's still my show. No, I'll just play it. But no, I think what Rich said about the problem with the youth is the downward pressure from the NBA. It kind of was perpetuated, to Ovie's point, in the NBA and the style of play. I will go a step further and say I think the media plays a huge role in that. And then you said Instagram. The media does not highlight anymore. ESPN has always been known for doing highlights, but you used to be able to watch a game and you get some analysis from the game. You'd be able to have someone on there talking about, look what this guy did. Look at that back cut. Look at, the little things in the game where now it's completely ignored. It's talking about, man, again, it took about 5 years for someone to call Luka Doncic out on his lack of defense in the national media to get to it. When it's been, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. It's been a problem.
Yeah.
But because he puts up a triple double and he puts up inflated number, he's obviously a great player. That it's a problem. So these kids are watching Instagram, Jason Tatum included. That might be why he's not playing, because they don't want him to shoot none of them side step threes or step through Euro steps where he'd be missing the basket. But I think the media has to get back to rewarding guys for doing the little things. They do it a little bit with Drew Holiday and guys like that. But you have to do that at damn near every level. And I think also the death of college basketball in the media has caused a problem with that.
And you're right. I agree with you, Jay. Because listen, you come from, we're not, I mean, I guess somebody's saying we're old. But, you talk about a Drew Holiday, and you know how it was when we were taught you were a point guard. You had a responsibility to make sure everybody was in the space they were supposed to be. You had a responsibility to be the most conditioned player on the court, play defense, and set the tone defensively. Now you see a lot of these ball-dominant guards play so many pick and rolls, and they're just racking up stats. And that kind of stuff translates over to the youth level of what parents want to see their kids do, as opposed to learning how to play the game the way where you got to run the show, make sure everybody's set up and know what you're doing, and it's a team game. So I think that's the biggest thing that hurts, as you mentioned, people reward that because you're not looking at, hey, this guy doesn't play defense. Hey, he's not really making assists in the right play. He's making assists to get the assists so he can have a stat. You feel what I'm saying? It's a little bit different.
Rich, I want to ask, because you said that you coach a little bit. So, you have your eyes on the youth level in the States, and I haven't been to an AAU tournament in forever. What is the pressure like from the parents now? What kind of pressure are you seeing coming from parents to coaches, and what kind of pressure are the parents putting on their kids? Is that as big a problem as I would assume it is, with how much money is going into grassroots hoops now and NIL and all of these things?
Well, I definitely think there's a lot of, with the whole landscape changing, and you talk about in the college game where you have so much player movement, player agency, it definitely has changed where, the parents understand that, hey, I can tell my child that you can go to this school and make more money. You can transfer here if you're not happy. So you now have a culture of young basketball players that can't take any criticism. Any type of thing that is considered constructive criticism is immediately by the child and the parent perceived as hate. And it's like you're just trying to help someone be good. Like if someone just says, hey, Jordan Taylor needs to really work on his athleticism. So if you go play on the next level, because I'm sorry, Jay, maybe I shouldn't have gave you that. I see her getting that look already.
What happened? No. Go ahead.
I'm messing with him. If I said, if someone said Jordan really needs to work on his athleticism, and work on his passing, what you do is you find a group of people that's going to say, hey, I ain't trying to hear that. He's hating. Let me get my own camp of people that's going to tell me what I want to hear. And that really stymies a lot of players' development. And you can just, from the parents' direction, say, I'm going to go play with somebody else. Or I'm not going to be able to listen to this. I'm going to get a coach on the AAU level. I'm going to coach my own team and pay my own fee into this tournament. And we'll do what we want to do. I think that kind of hinders a little bit of the game because you get a lot of the real purists and people that really want to teach the game. They get discouraged and they no longer want to coach. They no longer want to be a part of it. And in the recruiting aspect, you eliminate those high school coaches that used to really care about teaching the game because they were educators. And coaches now in the collegiate game don't even deal with high schools anymore. You just go deal with the AAU programs and you never know who's running that. So from a youth development standpoint, you talk about that and the social media where nobody can come in the gym unless they got a videographer, filming them, just dribbling around and shoot some shots. The lack of competitiveness where you never want to challenge someone because you don't want to get knocked off your spot. And the fact that nobody has any type of individuality in their game because it's just the trainer's game. Go play pickup. Go play with somebody and compete. All of that stuff plays a big role, I think, in the regression of USA basketball.
The biggest mistake that Europe will make will be the commercialization of EuroLeague, and that will assist, I guess, that will set them back in the sense of if they start bringing in the casual fans that the NBA has brought in and starts calling for some of it will do everything that's happened in the U.S. to Europe, where you'll get the Obradoviches of Europe will be gone. They'll be up out of there because players ain't gonna want to play for them. You're gonna make these dudes, to your point, feel like they the man in EuroLeague and they're not gonna get yelled at, which is understandable. But the one thing they will always have is I'm assuming it's kind of that 2-on-2 level, 3-on-3 stuff that they do in practice and really just drilling home. Because to me, Good, you mentioned the physical dominance and all that. To me, the difference that sets Luka and Jokic apart specifically is their knowledge and just their feel for the game more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
Luka sees everything on the basketball court. It's really his best talent. Under the rim, throw it behind his head. Like he's unbelievable. And if he can I think he needs to get back to playing off the ball, to really figure out what's next. I think he'll win a lot of championships if he gets more comfortable off the ball, increases his intensity defensively. But he's got more of an American mentality now than anybody.
You got to get in shape for that, though, Jay.
Yeah,
of course. You got to get in shape for that. That's going to be the main thing. I look at him. He's going to have to really take his conditioning to another level to do that kind of stuff. He's going to be the real player that he can be, because I think he does lean on the fact that I don't know what it is. I think he's just stronger than everybody. I mean, how some people just got,
Luka's strong.
He's heavy, boy.
He's strong.
Hey, he's my size. I mean, out there playing the point. It's just a strength.
Bro, they said he was like 270 or something this year. Like 275 or something. I heard
270. That's a media stretch. That's a stretch. 270. I don't know.
Nah, they said he got somewhere between 265 and 270 this year.
Jeez.
Yeah, I heard that out of Dallas too. So.
Oh wow.
The U.S. really picking up tempo or picking up the intensity. 675, 61, 3 minutes left to play. LeBron James 8 for 9. KD about to check back in and continue his tear. But the defensive side of the ball, only 12 points this quarter for Serbia. Clearly an adjustment, something that was addressed by the coaching staff in the has been a very physical game. It turned into a very physical game here in the third quarter. I'm Jordan Taylor, Richard Hendrix, Anthony Goods, and Ovie Soko. Goods, you were finishing a thought. Go ahead and finish that.
Oh nah, I'm good now.
Oh, you forgot? Good.
Yeah, I'm glad. I forgot.
Good. I was trying to punch you.
I was watching the game on this hotel TV, man. They put like wrestling or something on, man. So female wrestling. So I gotta go find a new channel now.
All right, well, comment on that then. You just forgot this was a watch along?
Man, nah, I didn't. I'm trying to tune back in, man. I don't know what channel the game on, if it's even on anymore on my TV, man. They tripping over here.
Listen, man, we're going to announce it here first. My bad, Ovie. I'll let you go next. But we're going to announce it here first. My man, Ovie Soko, took a year out of basketball. Making a comeback, man. He coming back out of retirement.
Don't do me like that.
Like
there it is.
4 or 5.
There it is. Exclusive.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
No, it's at the end of the day, last season I played. Cut it short halfway through some injuries, just to get right. But I don't like starting anything I don't finish the right way, and it's more about principles for me. So I feel like I deserve to give the game that. The game should give me that back, and yeah, man.
Hey, Ovie, I got a question for you.
As long as you can for us old guys. You need to keep it going, man.
I hear it.
Hey, Ovie, I got a question.
That I played against.
Hit me.
Yeah, so obviously, as we were talking about, like the younger generation, a lot of these kids, they're getting NIL, they're getting a lot more attention than they used to. The social media is blowing up. How did your social following exploding affect you and your hunger to hoop, and what changes, if any, did that make?
I would say the biggest change for me, which is something that I feel like more players should be exposed to, but it takes discipline, is just I didn't feel like I was being held hostage by anyone anymore. When you're in a field that you work very hard to maintain, like being a professional athlete, I feel like a lot of athletes, they get held hostage by a lot of these teams, GMs, and just by the game. As much as we love the game, it's like also how a lot of the European teams, they treat players, and you understand how you almost have to go through certain struggles that a lot of your friends back at the crib, they don't understand. They don't understand the full 360 of what it actually means to be an overseas player, the culture differences, to a certain extent, how much you have to compartmentalize things, which is something that I sort of explained, and me and JT were talking about. But it's the reality of fitting into a workplace. You have to fit in, and I felt like all of a sudden now I had these two different streams of income and two almost different lives and worlds that gave me very much access to financial gain, financial security, but I had options. And the options wasn't okay, this team, and this team. No, my options was okay, I could do this job or I could do this job. Now you have to treat me right. And that doesn't mean being spoiled. That doesn't, I'm not someone who quit. I'm not into quitting. I'm not into, I'm very, very real with myself. That's why I said it takes a lot of discipline. But ultimately, I'm sure you guys will understand the situations that you may have been in overseas where it's like your hands are tied. It's like, well, look, this is how I make my money. So even though I know the team ain't doing right by me, or there might be some stipulations in the contract you don't agree with, it's just like you just have to sit there and take it. Where I'm like, no, I feel like athletes, they need to understand, like you're more than an athlete. Take care of what's first, so take care of the hoops. And that's one thing that I felt like I did do to the best of my ability. Practice and all of that stuff always came first, but it was like, no, now that I don't need you. And there's a power in leverage. It's leverage. When you have leverage, it's like people, they talk to you differently. And a lot of teams, and especially in Europe, they won't necessarily like that, because it takes power out of their hands just to say, okay, no, you do this, or we fine you, or we take away. And I was like, that's something that I think changed a bit. But from a hunger side, you get more comfort. When the sheets get a little bit more comfortable, you do have to be disciplined. But I like to fancy myself a disciplined person. Sorry?
Well, how from that standpoint that you now do have leverage with so many other things that you're doing, and you're going to make a comeback and play.
Yeah.
What's the mental space like now that you made that decision? Like, hey, I want to come back and play when I do have other options. Because for many of us playing, it's like, what other option do you have? So what's the mentality going to be like moving forward into coming back into the game?
It's a freedom to play to win. You know, and you know the different. There's such a big difference. Playing to win or playing for your next contract, playing because you know you need to get certain numbers. Your agent's in your ear, the fans are in your ear. You know, you're hearing what the fans are saying. Like it relinquishes a lot of that pressure that we ultimately end up putting on ourselves as players. You know, and from one side we're providers. You know, so now it's something where I'm going back. I want to play to win. I want to play the right way, which I think it frees me up mentally and on the floor even, because I don't feel like I'm playing the same game. A lot of the people I'm playing against, they're playing a very different game. You're playing for food. I'm playing to win. You know, I'm here to play, and I feel like you see, and you guys could tell me otherwise. I always felt that way when I saw EuroLeague guys. I never played at the EuroLeague level, but whenever I saw guys that played at the EuroLeague level, I always felt like there's one side of that there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of expectation, and winning when it's expected of you and winning when you're the underdog or it's completely different. It's a completely different ball game. When excellence is an expectation, it's very tough. But also, I always felt like, yeah, but those guys don't have that fundamental concern of my next contract will feed me or my next contract is keeping me, you know what I mean? Like, because you guys know the reality of the numbers and what guys get paid. You guys know that.
Yeah.
You guys know that. So, yeah, I always felt like that when I saw EuroLeague guys. I was like, well, they don't have a certain pressure. They do, and they don't. And you guys could tell me otherwise, you know.
Absolutely. And for all of you, listen, we're on the USA basketball first round game against Serbia in the 2024 Olympics. The live stream presented by Swiss Cultures. We got our guest Ovie Soko joining in, the host of the show, as well as myself, Anthony Goods, Richard Hendrix, and Jordan Taylor. Y'all can follow Ovie Soko at Ovie Soko, OVIESOKO on Instagram. Any followers that are listening to the live stream, tune into the chat. Give us some of your questions for Ovie, for Anthony, for Jordan, or for myself as we discuss the Olympic basketball landscape as well as basketball internationally and in the States. We're talking a little bit with Ovie, talking about his experience playing basketball and the pressures he had as he now makes a decision to come back to the game with the other opportunities that he had in the choices between modeling and as well as playing basketball. So we're talking a little bit about that. Jordan, you mentioned a little bit and had some experience, obviously, playing in situations and making some decisions when it comes to leverage and doing other things in your life and playing basketball. Do you seem to agree with the same thing that Ovie's talking about, that you can have a different spirit when it comes to the game after having some leverage and some things you're doing in other areas of your life outside of basketball?
Yeah, I mean, definitely leverage is everything. Y'all know that, but at the same time, it's not just there's the downside to that leverage too that you have to be aware of. You know, as athletes, where it's like you can talk to them a little different. Like, I don't need this, but then also in Europe, they're gonna treat you like you don't care then, and they're gonna treat you as if, well, we don't need you either. So the leverage is, if the leverage is financial and the leverage is optional in terms of economic benefit, then it's kind of like, all right, you better be someone that they need. You know, LeBron James can speak a little different with leverage, obviously, than Ovie Soko or Jordan Taylor or Rich Hendrix. So, but no, definitely, I think it just comes down to how you want to live your life, how you want to approach the game, and you have to be very, very strategic, very smart about how you go about applying that leverage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, speaking of leverage and opening up the game, United States up 84-65, 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter as they've extended this lead. What have y'all seen in this game that's been a big reason how Team USA has been able to get it going? What do you think, Goods?
Yeah, man, I was just able to cut it back on, man. So I didn't even see them blow this lead open like that, man. But they can go ahead and start the bus, man. This shit is over.
Hey, it's a watch along, man. It's a watch along. You're supposed to watch the game, bro.
Man, I was looking for it I was looking for it, man. The hotel took it off my channel, man. I had to find a new one.
Listen. Well, let me fill you in. The USA picked up their level of play defensively, 16 points in that third quarter, but just the physicality. AD very aggressive offensively. KD still hasn't missed only one shot there, or only 2 free throws that quarter. Excuse me, but I did get word. I'm reaching into my sources. We did get word that potentially Jason Tatum is sick, which is why he might not be playing. Apparently, a couple of the USA guys weren't feeling well over the past couple of days. It's been word on Twitter amongst other places, and Tatum's wearing different sweatpants and isn't in his normal stuff to play. So that might explain maybe his body language too a little bit and why he's just over there chilling. So go ahead and apologize, Rich. Make the apology as loud as the disrespect, as they say, man.
I ain't rolling. We all been sick. We've been on teams. If I'm sick, I'm in the hotel. If you sick, you're not gonna be sitting in the center of it. You're not gonna be sick sitting in the middle of the bench of all of the greatest athletes out here on the team.
So you saying he faking a sickness? That's what you saying?
Man, I've been sick. You don't get to be around the rest of the team. They put you on the end down there by the trainer with a mask on. Or you don't even come to the game. I'm not rolling. It's something else going on here. Or he just, it's something else. He ain't sick unless it's like food poisoning sick.
He got sick. He got sick in the second quarter. He got sick. He ain't checking in.
We want y'all to know this is a player-friendly podcast. We support the players, man. Except Rich, man. He old school. That man, he was born in 1962, man. That dude is not going for none of this new school stuff
at all.
So just know that. But that's all right.
Listen, I got to keep it real. I mean, come on, we've all played enough high-level basketball to know what's going on here, man. I don't know if he's sick. I hope he feels better, but this must be some type of stomach illness because it can't be some other type of contagious situation if you're sitting in the middle of the bench. So hopefully he gets all of that taken care of and he can get back in the next round, in the next game, so we can see what he play. I mean, he's a world champion. We saw what he was able to do in the NBA Finals. I mean, this is a player that we all want to see on the biggest stage, and I want to see it more than anybody.
Rich, that statement right there is the antithesis of what you said the kids do. Everybody say you always hating whenever you get some critique. That's what somebody critiques somebody. I'm just keeping it real, huh?
So tell me, I mean, was it? Listen,
I tend to do it.
Man, I tend to call that analysis. See, a lot of other people, they're not gonna get in the seat and tell you what's really going on. See, this is what the game needs. If you want some analysis from a real pro, you call me up. I'm gonna tell you what it's like. Because I've been the man on teams. I've been that 12th guy on teams. I've been the guy that's been cut from the team. I've been the guy who's been, the sixth man who's sitting there saying, I'm better than the starter, but you got me over here in this role, yanking me in and out, and I got to have a good look on my face. This is the whole thing we're talking about. You got to understand when you're watching this, if you're the current viewer or the regular viewer, learn how to watch the game for what's really going on here. Don't sit here and watch it saying, oh, man, hey, that guy had so many points and the other guy didn't, so he's better. Man, how do you know? I've been the guy that's been on the team in practice that busts the starter's tail every single day. You know it. I know it. The coach knows it. But I'm sitting over there on the bench. So, we all know the situation as pros, what it's really like to be on a team. And all you can hope for if you don't have leverage is that somehow your voice is acknowledged and heard by the people that's watching it. In most situations, it's not. So that's why you got me to come break it down to tell you what's really going on over here on the game. The man either sick because he ate something wrong or he upset. It's one of the two. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He ate something wrong. Some disagreed with him in Paris.
This is the inaugural watch along second live stream of the Role Player Podcast brought to you by Swish Cultures. And for those that are joining or still here, whatever it is, I just want y'all to know that the records show that when Rich Hendrix is on Amazon doing NBA games, we were one of the first platforms to give him his soapbox. So I want y'all to understand that, this is where legends are made. This is where dreams are made. So just keep that in mind when you're tuning in. But no, I do agree. I think there is a space. I think what's cool. One of the cool things I do see about the evolution of basketball is Serbia cuts it to 15. Said it's not going to get close goods, but Serbia, I think, is going to make a push here. But one of the cool things about the evolution to me is kind of the player-led movement in a lot of different areas. And I think now with college basketball being a place where you're essentially a professional basketball player, I think it's going to be more important than ever to have voices like that, Rich, who are going to keep it real and let players know, how this journey goes and give them that guidance along that. And obviously you see a lot of this in the media as well. Great pass there by Micic.
That was a big shot there. You talk about Jokic able to cut into the lead, but USA is going to be able to bounce back as we're able to now live stream coast to coast all over the world. As we mentioned, as you said, the Role Player Podcast live stream presented by Switch Cultures here. Anthony Goods, Richard Hendrix, Jordan Taylor, and our guests on the show, Ovie Soko, as Team USA has an 89-73 lead over Serbia in the opening game in their group. 5 minutes, 38 seconds to go in the fourth quarter of this game. But so many things that you can get from being in these team situations, as we'd all be able to talk about and explain to the people who are able to listen to what goes on. Good, you've been on many teams. You've had different roles on teams. You've been star players, leading teams in scoring, and been a lot of different things. Now you've also watched the game from another perspective. How do you see it from a standpoint compared to regular players, not regular players, but the general fan watching the game? How do you see it from your perspective as a guy that's worn many hats?
Yeah, I mean, I think the game in general, man, it's I see it a lot differently now being on the other side and being able to talk to agents, front office personnel, coaches and whatnot. I see it differently in that I think a lot of the things that I used to push back on as a player, I think was really for my benefit, even if it was also for the benefit of the coaches and stuff like that. I think in regards to seeing how guys are getting paid and, I guess like I'll say, for example, let's just say a coach wants you to pick up full court and deny and do all this stuff, but I feel like I'm holding him down. Like I don't need to do all that. Like it wasn't necessarily, if that's what he wants me to do, maybe I should have done that, because it ain't just about what it feels like to me. It's about what it looks like to the people that's watching the tape, to the people that's evaluating the next GM and things of that nature. I wasn't really buying into that. I was like, man, I'm going to just score this ball and I'm going to shoot 40% for three and then I'm good. And that is going to get you paid to an extent, but, you're going to reach that extent where, you don't really reach, I think, your full potential. And I see it a lot with many players, man. Like they don't, I could sit down and talk to a Fenerbahce scout at a game and, a player may not be doing exactly everything he needs to kind of get that move from, let's just say, a first division team in France to a Fenerbahce and whatnot. And he doesn't even know that Fenerbahce scout is in the game. And, you know what I'm saying? And I think that just being on the other side and being able to have conversations with, people with different hats on the game, man, it really changed my perspective as opposed to how I looked at it, as a player.
Yeah, that's big time. I mean, so many people, I think that's a big disconnect that a lot of players have, that they really need to know, that you need to understand that you're not just playing for yourself, you're playing for the coach, you're playing for the organization, to understand what is needed to really advance the entire thing. I think we've talked about that when you watch kids on the youth level. It's almost like you feel in many regards that a suggestion, that the coach tells you to do something that is simply a suggestion, and that you want to use your own, judgment about what you want to do to propel your career, but that might not be the best thing to help you get forward. Would y'all tend to agree with that, or do you feel like it's anything different? Jay, what you think?
I'm gonna let Ovie go. You know how we do. The guests go first. You know the law.
No, I think it's so valid. Like the points you guys are making, and just the awareness of the team. One thing I feel like I've learned as I've grown and as I've worn the different hats is the amount of awareness the guy who is the man on a regular team and the man on a winning team. Like the amount of awareness of these players to be in that role, because it's really the position where you have to be the most humble to a certain extent. And I feel like the misconception is a lot of younger players think it's what you do that solidifies you as the man. It's really not. Your ability to put the ball in the hole, your ability to score, that has to now just become an automatic. That's something you're able to do at any point of the game. But now being aware of all the role players, to your point about picking up full court, you playing hard defense because the other guys on the bench, they're looking at how the guy that the coach is giving the ball, they're looking at how you approach the game. Now, they won't say it, but we've all been in the role where it's like, man, this guy gets to shoot all the shots. Why ain't he, you know, he don't play hard. He don't play. Now, guys will never say that at the pro level, but you need to already know that they are thinking that. Whether they tell you or they smile in your face or not, they're thinking that. Right. So you almost have to cross off all of these X's. Okay, am I giving energy and effort? Even though I know I'm doing the most in this gym, am I giving energy and effort so that all of these guys on my team have to give energy and effort? Am I following the rules so that I can make sure the last guy on the bench, when he comes in the last 5 minutes of the game, he's going to be locked in because, wait, hold on, our best dude is doing it, so I have to do it. You know, there's so many checks and balances to being successful. You have to be able to manage the other egos around you. You have to be able to pass up a shot that you know you done worked all day on, more than everyone else, to give the corner shooter an easy look early in the game, so that down the stretch when it gets tough, they ain't even questioning where the ball's going. They're like, no, you've already given. No, hit. Now they feeding you. Like, there's so many layers to it that, yeah, you know, I love that you said that, Richard, and you brought up that point about just that level of understanding. And that's what I look at when I see this level of basketball. When you see Team USA and you understand the pecking order, it's those sort of things I'm looking out for. You know, LeBron knows he needs to get Booker easy look early, so he just keeps his mind in the game. He knows all of these things, and that's what makes the greatest players really great, is that level that they're really reading the game. It's so much deeper than just he's wide open, or, you know, yeah.
Yeah, but from the outside level, but, you know, obviously you talk about the greatest, and LeBron and Steph understand that, but from an international perspective, I would ask all of you, do you think international players recognize that better than American players, or vice versa? The role of understanding it's a team situation. Sometimes I have to do what the coach says as opposed to me doing things and following my own agenda.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't. I know maybe I'm biased.
Why not?
Because I take this game for example, right? Look up and down this game. Look at how this game is going. We talked a lot about, you know, roles and superstars. If you walk down, there's a clear hierarchy on that USA team right now. Guys seem to have accepted what's going on. There's balance throughout the roster from a points perspective. They got 18, 12, 12, 4, 8, 7, 4, 11. Like, they're playing European basketball right now. Is it exactly like that? No, because of the talent. But in terms of the roles that are embraced, it's Steph's playing off ball, Bron's the primary ball handler, KD's kind of that stretch four. Like, yeah, I think they've embraced exactly what any other team has. It seems like they're coming.
So where does the narrative come from? Where does the narrative come? Because we all know the narrative. You're playing overseas. The narrative is that an American's not getting with the program. He's trying to break the plays off. He wants to do his own thing. But then the narrative is also on the flip side. Always. That's what we do here on the Role Player Podcast live stream presented by the Swiss Cultures.
you know where the narrative comes from, man. The narrative comes from and is rooted in the others, man, and what, you know, how the perception.
I guess what's said is understood. What's understood doesn't have to be said.
Exactly. But, you know, it does come from the NBA style of play where, you know, obviously it's a very ball dominant. The team structure is different, where it's going to be the star, and then as Shaq says all the time, the others are going to fit in. And that is still the concept of a team. Like, what Europeans seem to never embrace or don't like to embrace on the basketball side is that a team has to be balanced. And it doesn't have to be balanced when it comes to opportunity. A team could be one guy leading the way, and it could be one guy just getting rebounds, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I have to interject. And this is why, and I think this is where there's always, and this isn't even hoops, this is culturally, it's the lack of respect, or the perceived lack of respect. There's one thing knowing that you're the best player, and it's another thing saying, man, you all know I'm the dude, like, and disregarding everyone around you. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird because that same thing that is celebrated, I think, in American culture through movies, through, you know, the lone soldier who can take on the world. You know, it's celebrated in America where you can go out there and put the team on your back. But in Europe, it's like, no, we know you're the guy, but acknowledge everyone and respect everyone.
But historically though,
And that's why it works on the USA team, because there's a clear respect for each other, because you know what it means to be on that team.
Well, I would say historically too, though, even if you're talking about Rambo and U.S. culture, that the best player still understands the responsibility that comes with it. And I would still argue it's not just a selfish thing. And I would still argue that at the highest levels, LeBron James he's a megastar, and sure, he's egotistical at times. Steph Curry, so on and so forth. The best players are still going to understand that, I'm the best player, but I have to be the one fighting for loose balls, treating guys a certain way, talking to people a certain way, leading the team. And I think that, no disrespect to KD, I think that's kind of been he's been the best player probably his whole life. But I don't think KD is a natural leader, and that's okay. Yeah. I think, but I don't think KD's a bad guy. Say again.
You think that's a generational thing? I mean, he's a little bit younger. I mean, obviously LeBron. And if that's the case, how do you think this is going to look moving forward as the United States is going on a 3-point barrage, knocking down Steph Curry with a deep three with 110 points to 84? It looks like this is going to be the final here, guys. Yeah. We wrap this one up. United States 110-84 Serbia. What y'all think about the first round game?
Man,
dominant.
Good.
Dominant, man.
It's scary hours right now for the rest of the world, man.
Terrifying.
I think I'm looking forward to this South Sudan game, though, man. I think I think the U.S. I think they're probably a little tired of the noise and kind of the hoopla around that game that they almost lost. But man, I think they definitely out here to try and prove a point. And South Sudan's they're gonna have their hands full on what day is it? Wednesday?
Believe so. Defense picking up for Team USA. Third quarter held Serbia to 16. 19 points held Serbia to in the fourth quarter. The defensive intensity picked up tremendously for Team USA. But you're exactly right. As they move forward, it does seem to look scary. Jordan, you say that what is it? Is it South Sudan is Wednesday? What did you see in that last game that they played against South Sudan that would be something different in the rematch?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, I was there live for that game, and one thing that I'll notice is I don't think Team USA is going to be in tape the night before. So I think they're going to be they're not going to be in the club the night before, nothing like that. I think they're going to be locked in. I think they kind of showed they showed their defensive intensity. Other than that second quarter, they gave up a total of 55 points, one bad quarter. I think they really exerted themselves as a dominant physical team, and they were locked in. So I think South Sudan is going to be kind of a get-back game in a sense too.
Yeah, no, the levels that the USA team has as far as defensively, the amount of gears they have, so to speak, it's just that's where I think that blew my mind. It's not even the offensive end. We all know. We've seen all of these guys have 50 balls, and we know what they do on offense, but the defensive intensity and the way they can switch it up to a certain level where they just make it completely suffocating. That's just where I feel like that's where they break teams down. They break teams when it's like, we can score, but we won't give you anything anywhere. You know how they say you're supposed to give up something? The USA team has the ability to not give up anything, which is crazy.
The first round is in. The first round is up. So now that we've seen everybody play, Germany's 1-0, France is 1-0, South Sudan, the U.S. have all got wins, Australia and Canada. So we asked this question the other day in the live stream we had the other night, but who, after one round, who looks like the silver medalist if we're assuming the U.S. is the gold?
I'll start it off. I think you have to look at Canada as we look at the team. They look pretty strong. I mean, you talk about they do have the talent all the way around about what they can do. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, big-time scorer. They have defensive versatility throughout the entire roster. They have a team, as you mentioned earlier in this international game, of players that grew their game in the United States. I don't know if they'll be intimidated, but for them to come out and get a win in a program that hasn't necessarily made a lot of noise in Olympic play, to come out and get a win against Giannis and Greece in the opening round game, 86-79. They're in a good situation. They can continue to get that first one under their belt and try to get a little bit more momentum moving into the next rounds.
Yeah, I think Germany, man. I think Germany's. I think they probably have. I think they're better equipped to get the silver medal in this tournament because I think they got enough shooting. I think they got versatility. I think they got length. Yeah, I just think they give you a lot of problems if Schroeder stays healthy. I think Germany's going to creep into that silver medal.
I think man, I gotta go with the home team, man. I have to go with the home team. Go with the home team, and mainly just because they got a lot of size. They've got guys who have the international experience, and I don't feel like we can. Yeah, this thing is built out for Wemby to make noise, man. Anywhere Wemby goes, please know that there is a lot more hands in the pot to make sure that the alien continues to look like an alien. So I feel like, yeah, I gotta go with France. It's my pick.
What you think, Rich? You said
I'll tell you, I think I'm going with the silver medal. I'm going with Canada. I just felt like they have the versatility defensively. They have the athletes, and if things work out, I think that they have a roster that they can be able to start to be a little bit more overwhelming against them. It's going to be a matter if they try to play hero ball or they try to play together. If they can figure out a way to play together, then I think that they can be a team that can be there in the end because I know that they have the talent.
Yep. Any last words? It's the inaugural watch along with Role Player Podcast. Any last words? Any last check-ins?
Recapping on the last game of the United States with a 110-84 finish, LeBron James, 21 points, 9 for 13 shooting from field, including 8 for 10 from 2-point. Kevin Durant, 23 points, 8 for 9 from the field. Team USA was 18 for 32, 56% shooting from three, 68% from the field from 2-point overall. Steph Curry chipped in with 11 points. He was 3 for 7 from the 3-point line. And Drew Holiday, 6 for 8 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 15 points. A dominant fashion win. Team USA over Serbia. Within on the other side, Nikola Jokic doing his thing. 20 points, also chipped in 8 assists in a game in a losing effort, as well as Bogdan Bogdanovic with 14 points and 6 rebounds in his own right. So Team USA off to a big-time performance in the opener and a big performance on our first show of the live stream of the inaugural Role Player Podcast live stream presented by Swiss Cultures, watching the Olympic Basketball 2024.
Good. You got anything before you want to sign off, man? Final words?
Nah, man. Nah, I'm looking forward to Wednesday, man. But yeah, USA running away with this, man. So we're gonna have to fill a lot of air with these blowouts moving forward, man.
All right, special guest Ovie. What you want to say, man?
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. It's been enjoyable. Hopefully, I can make it back for another game. Hopefully, you'll have me. But I appreciate you, fellas. Yeah, man.
No doubt, man. We appreciate y'all watching, man. Again, it's a Role Player Podcast with his first watch along presented to you by Swiss Cultures. Make sure you follow along Swiss Cultures on all social media platforms. That is with the handle at Swiss Cultures. Anthony Goods has the handle. You even got Instagram no more, man? You still on that?
Yeah, I'm on, man. I just be
Go
keeping
ahead,
it
shout
low
him out.
key.
Shout him out for the people that want to get in touch for you. Shout us out, man. Let us know your Instagram.
Yeah, at switchcultures.com. That's my Instagram.
No, straight business.
At switchcultures.com. That's my Instagram.
Straight business, man.
That's
At
right.
Richard Hendrix is at rhendrix35. Correct. At Ovie Soko. I am at JMTaylor11 on all social media platforms. Again, appreciate y'all checking us out. Anthony Goods, Richard Hendrix, Ovie Soko, Jordan Taylor. Make sure y'all check us out next time, man.
Sir.